Hey friends, happy Sunday and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share What's for Dinner videos like this every single Sunday to hopefully motivate you to cook more for your family and give you some new meal ideas. I typically try about 3 new recipes a week. It depends though, we all have our off weeks where we just either eat out or make the same old thing over and over again. But I like to keep it interesting in the kitchen, not only for y'all to make these videos more interesting, but just because I'm the one cooking and I like to not have to cook the same thing over and over again because I find that boring and repetitive. But I did try a couple new things this week that turned out delicious. So let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. Friday night, we did meatball subs. This is one of those quick and easy meals that I make all the time. I like to make my meatballs in the crock pot. Occasionally, I will air fry them first and then put them in the crock pot. But lately, I've just been lazy. Just throw them in the crock pot. I usually do enough to cover the bottom of the crock pot. You could do more if you want, but I know that that's the right amount for my family. But I just ended up using the rest of this bag. I buy the 6-pound bag of meatballs at Sam's Club and then split it up into mini meals. And so I just get those in there with 1 jar of marinara sauce, and I add a little bit of water to that jar to make sure I get all the sauce out, but also just to add a little bit more liquid in here. Then I put a lid on this, and you could cook it on low for 6 to 8 hours, but they really don't take that long. I cooked this on high for 3.5 hours, and then it was ready to eat. To make our sandwiches, I just put some meatballs on some sub rolls, and I put this in my air fryer and I lined it with foil for easy cleanup. And I drizzle on a little bit more sauce, and then I top it with some mozzarella cheese. And then I put it in the air fryer for 4 minutes on 375 to get the bread toasted and the cheese nice and melty. To go with our sandwiches, we had some chips, and then most of us had salad. But of course, Lily doesn't like salad, so she just had some fresh veggies on the side. This is one of my favorite dump and go crock pot recipes to make because it's so simple, very few ingredients and no prep really. Just throw it in there and dinner is easy, and I know that everybody in my family is going to love it. Saturday night we had tuna casserole. This is another easy staple in our house. We just had some peas on the side of it. That's what we always have with tuna casserole. I know some people like it in their tuna casserole, but we like them on the side, and then you can decide if you want peas with each bite or not. And I've shared my recipe for this many times. I will have it linked down below if you are interested in seeing that. Sunday night, we had pork carnitas tacos. If you have been around my channel for a very long time, you might have seen me make this Kroger pork carnitas that you just heat up in the microwave. I used to make this all the time back when I used to shop at Kroger on a regular basis, and I would find this on a markdown. I don't shop at Kroger as much anymore, but I went there a couple weeks back and found a bunch of these on markdown, so I stocked up and have a bunch in the freezer because you can freeze these. And so I just thawed it out, and then all you have to do is poke a couple holes in the bag and microwave it. I think it's 6 minutes. It says it on the package. And then it's done, and you can just dump it out, and the meat is so tender and flavorful, and I just shred it up and we use it for tacos. So then, of course, we had all the taco things. We had some hard shells, refried beans, some Mexican rice, our meat, some lettuce, salsa, taco sauce, guacamole, and cheese, and then chips. And so here are the kids' plates. They've got some chips and guacamole, rice and beans, salsa, and they each have a taco. And then my plate, I have 2 tacos and then just rice and beans. I didn't want any chips or guacamole this night. Monday night, we tried a new recipe for a cheeseburger soup. It was delicious. It was the first time trying this, and I did change a couple things, so I will have my notes for what I changed down below, as well as a link to the original recipe. So I'm starting off by just browning 1 pound of ground beef. I'm only going to brown it about halfway, and then I'm going to add in a chopped onion, some shredded carrots, and some diced celery. I also decided to go ahead and add in the dried basil that the recipe called for, and then I just continued to cook this until my meat was fully browned and my veggies started to soften. Next, I added in my broth. The recipe wanted you to use chicken broth, but it's a cheeseburger soup. So I did water and then some Knorr beef bouillon to make it into beef broth because I thought that made more sense. And then I added 4 cups of peeled and diced russet potatoes. And then I thought that it needed a little bit more liquid, so I did end up adding 1 more cup of liquid to this. And then I just let that cook over like a medium high until it came to a boil. And then once it came to a boil, I reduced the heat to a simmer and then I covered it for 10 to 12 minutes or until the potatoes were done. When the potatoes were nearly done, in a little separate saucepan, I am going to melt 3 tablespoons of butter, and then once that's melted, I added in 3 tablespoons of flour, make a little roux, let that cook for like 3 to 5 minutes until it's like a little bit golden and bubbly, and we're going to add that to our soup to kind of thicken it up. Once the potatoes were done, I stirred in that roux mixture and then brought this to a boil. And then once it was boiling, I added in some cheese. I did about 2 cups of Velveeta that I cubed up, and then 1.5 cups of milk. I warmed the milk in the microwave for a minute so that I wasn't adding cold milk into hot soup because that just doesn't seem like a good idea to me. So I always like to warm my milk in the microwave if I'm adding it to a hot soup. And then I also added in some salt and pepper. And I let this cook over a medium heat, stirring often until all of the cheese was melted. Once all the cheese was melted, I turned off the heat, and then I forgot to show this, but I did stir in a 1/4 cup of sour cream. And then this was ready to serve. We topped it with some extra shredded cheddar cheese and some bacon bits. So it was like a bacon cheeseburger soup, and this was delicious. It was creamy and so good with like the potatoes in there, made it really filling, and we loved this. Tuesday night, we had sausage, green beans, and potatoes. This is another staple in our house that I make pretty often because it's quick and easy, and I almost always have the ingredients for this on hand. I have shared it many times on my channel, so the recipe will be linked down below. This next meal was inspired by something that I saw on the Lemon8 app. This is yellow rice and salmon bites. And I'm just starting off by heating up a little bit of oil in my skillet. And then I'm going to add in my yellow rice. I am just using a bag of yellow rice. The lady that I saw on Lemon8 make this just used regular rice and then seasoned it with like turmeric and some other seasonings to give it a yellow color. But I already had yellow rice on hand, so I just decided to use that. And I'm just going to toast it for a couple of minutes, and then I'm going to add in some mini sweet peppers that I diced up. She used red and green bell peppers, but I always have sweet peppers on hand because my kids love them, so I diced up a couple of those and added those in, as well as a bunch of handfuls of spinach. And I kind of like ripped apart the spinach as I added it in because I didn't feel like chopping it, but I wanted it in smaller pieces. And then you just cook that up until the spinach starts to wilt and your peppers get kind of tender. Then I added in the amount of water that it called for on the package of rice, as well as 1 can of cream of chicken soup, and I just stirred that around really well and brought this to a boil. And then once it came to a boil, I put a lid on it and let it cook for as long as the package said. I think it was around 20 to 25 minutes. Next, for my salmon, I'm just taking 2 salmon fillets and cutting them into bite-sized pieces. And then she just said to season with whatever you like. So I did some garlic powder and some blackened seasoning and a little bit of oil. And then I tossed these on my air fryer basket, and I did line it with foil first for easy cleanup. And then I cooked these on 400 for about 12 minutes. Once the rice was done, I took the lid off and fluffed it, and then I'm going to just toss those salmon bites on top. And then I melted some butter in the microwave and added some garlic powder to it and just drizzled that over the top of the salmon bites, and then this was ready to eat. It was delicious. I will say I feel like I needed a little bit more seasoning maybe in the rice, but the salmon bites were delicious. I'd never made salmon bites before. I just always make the whole fillet, but I really liked how crispy the little salmon bites got, but still like not overdone. So we really liked those. I will definitely make the salmon bites again, but I might adjust the rice a little bit. And finally, for the last meal of the week, I made a new recipe for pork chops and rice in the crock pot. So I'm starting off in the crock pot by adding 2 cups of water. I'm also going to add in 2 teaspoons of Knorr chicken bouillon to make this into chicken broth. And then another cup of water, a can of cream of chicken soup instead of cream of mushroom, because that's what the original recipe called for, and I can't do cream of mushroom soup. But to still give it some mushroom flavor, I added in some of this Cannibals Flavor Up that I like in the mushrooms flavor. And then some garlic powder, onion salt, pepper, and then I mix that together very well and then added in my pork chops. And then I topped this with 1 stick of butter that I cubed up. And then the recipe said to cook this on low for 7 hours, but I did high for 3.5. And then I went in and shredded up the pork. And once all my pork was shredded, I added in 2 cups of minute rice, so the quick cook rice, and it said to add in 1 more cup of water, but I did not do that. I did not think it needed any more water. It looked like there was enough liquid in it, and I was correct. I don't know what would have happened if I would have added another cup, because it turned out perfect. I put a lid back on this and let it continue to cook on high for 45 more minutes, and it was great. I mixed in some shredded cheese after that, and we love this. It was like a whole meal. I meant to add like some green beans on the side, but I was feeling lazy this night and did not do that. We just ate the pork and rice, the cheesy pork and rice, and it was delicious. I will definitely make this again. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you leave me a thumbs up. I hope y'all also got some new meal ideas. If you did, let me know which ones down below you plan on trying. And if you made it here all the way to the end, also leave me a smiley face emoji down there in the comments as well. I hope y'all have a great rest of your weekend, and I will see y'all in the next one. Bye!